The session is called Finding Steady Ground in Uncertain Times. And for me, as an executive coach, what I see that is most getting in the way of leaders, but pretty much anyone wanting to make a change, choosing to make a change, is not what they're going to go and do. It is the stories that they tell themselves about what they are capable of and what they are not capable of, the extent to which their skills are transferable, and yeah, the belief system that sits in our subconscious and is often in the driving seat without us really noticing it. So what we're going to try and do today is to explore it, to surface it, to unpack it and get to know it and understand it a little bit better so that we can reframe it, we can choose what we want to believe to be true that can then support us to take the steps that we want to take on our journey of change and whatever that looks like for you. So that's the plan for the session. We're going to briefly touch on what happens in the mind and the body during uncertainty so that hopefully you can leave with the knowledge that it's human and that we all do this. I haven't yet met anyone who's exempt from any of this stuff. So knowing that we're not alone often is one of the most powerful insights we can have. We'll practice mindsight. So I'll explain to you a little bit about what it is, and then we'll practice doing it through a structured reflective process that I'll take you through. So I see lots of you have got pen and paper. You may need pen and paper if you want to go through the process alongside your colleagues here today. We'll try and surface some of those stories that are sitting in our subconscious. We'll try and understand them, and I'll introduce you to a couple of practices that you can do when the body takes over and the mind starts telling you all these things that are perhaps unhelpful, to be able to notice that and go, okay, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to come back to myself. I'm going to ground myself, and I'm going to be responsive. I'm going to choose how I relate to this challenge or this situation or this day that I'm currently living. So we'll start with a pause, just for you to, don't have to close your eyes. It's not woo-woo, it's not voodooism, but it is an internal process. So just give yourselves a moment to pause and to notice what's going on for you right now. You've just had a whole day of stimulating, interesting conversations and sessions. What's with you right now? Maybe start with the body. What are you feeling in your body? My heart rate is going a little faster. I can feel my heartbeat in my diaphragm. What are you feeling? Notice where you're carrying any tension. For me, it's often in my shoulders and my neck. You may carry it somewhere else. And what emotions are here right now at the end of this long day? Perhaps there's a sense of overwhelm. Perhaps there is some fear. Perhaps there is excitement, joy. What is going on for you? What emotions are with you right now? And if you can, try and label them. What's that? That's thinking. Is it ruminating? Is it curiosity? Is it helpful? Is it catastrophizing? What is it? See if you can label the thought or the feeling. Allow yourself to do that. So for me, I'm noticing, well, I told you about my heartbeat. I'm noticing that I'm tired. I'm noticing that I've had loads of enriching, lovely conversations today, but also it's the end of the day and my social batteries are a little depleted. I'm noticing that. And I'm noticing the urge to make sure that this session is as good as this morning's session. Putting a bit of pressure on it. That's what's with me right now. So now I have a choice. What do I want to do with that? I'm just going to do my thing. I'm just going to show up, be me, and see what lands, see what happens, see what conversations emerge. Some of you may like it, and some of you may hate it, and we'll see. And I'm going to let go of the outcome. And what you've just done is the practice of mindsight. So this is what clinical psychologist Dan Siegel calls mindsight. It's that process of seeing the inner workings of our mind, our body, our spirit, and just taking a little step back from them, noticing them and distancing ourselves so that we do not become them. So that the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions are just that. They're just a thought, and we are not our thoughts. Sometimes we think we are, but we're not. And when we practice mindsight, it gives us enough awareness and presence in the moment to then be able to choose what we hold on to and what we let go of. So there will be things lurking in your subconscious that will be useful that you want to hold on to, and there will be some things that you think, I'm done with that. I've held on to that one for long enough and it's not serving me anymore. So that's the practice of mindsight, and that's what I would like to introduce to you as a way of navigating this period of change and uncertainty, this ability to go, oof, feels a bit much right now. What do I want to do with that so that we don't let the automatic response take over? And this is what happens in our bodies. So again, to humanize this experience, there is a physiological response to uncertainty, a lack of control, a lack of predictability. As human beings, we like consistency. We like things to be predictable. And when they're not, the body will tell us. The body will send us a signal and will send us into either hyper zone, hyper alert, or hypo zone, where we actually retreat from the world and we choose, it's immobilizing, right? And we choose not to engage with whatever's going on around us. So the physiological experience is the same: cortisol, adrenaline, hypervigilance, high alert. That's what's happening. And then the consequence can be either, right, I must busy myself, I must apply for 15 jobs this weekend, I need to increase my network by 100 people on LinkedIn every week, and I must, right? And we set ourselves these kind of KPIs and we get on the treadmill. Now, nothing wrong with any of those actions, but sometimes, a lot of the time, we do them out of fear. We do them out of fear of what will happen if I don't. In the reverse, the hypo zone is, I'm done, I'm out, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, these roles that are coming up are not for me, I don't fit the skill set, I'm just retreat. And we don't go for anything and we hold ourselves back. So ideally, physiologically, what we want to try and do is get ourselves into the effectiveness zone where we can be aware of what's happening for us and we can use the arousal system, the nervous system, to our advantage. And so here we are, we're aware of what's happening and we proactively choose how we want to engage with the situation that we're in. So we may set ourselves KPIs, we may set ourselves targets, but we're not doing it from a place of fear. We're doing it from a place of effectiveness, engagement. So the body is regulated here. So for each of you, how you regulate will be very different. So this morning we had things come out like going for a walk, stroking the dog, having a cup of tea, whatever it is that helps you to regulate your body and to pause and to notice what's going on for you. Okay, so now it's over to you. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to stop talking until 4:15. And just have a think about the story that your mind might be telling you about uncertainty or about this time, this phase of life that you're in right now. Just let the pen flow, see what comes up. You can use these stem sentences to get you going if they're helpful. So change means what? Fill in the blank. If I don't know what's next, then fill in the blank. To stay safe, I must fill in the blank. So just take 5 minutes to have a think and write down anything that comes up. Words, sentences, phrases, anything. Forget the second part of the question. Just take 5 minutes to do that and I will stop talking. Okay, now don't worry if you haven't got it all down. 5 minutes is not a long time, but hopefully we've got you started on a bit of an internal reflective journey. And just have a look at what you've written. And here's the kicker, it's a bit perverse, but these stories that we hold on to serve us. Okay, they've served us to get us to where we are right now. They've kept us safe from failure, from not being liked, from not being included or a sense of belonging. But they've overplayed their hand. They've gone a little too far. So have a look at what you've written and ask yourself, to what extent is this story still serving me right now? Maybe there are parts of it that are, maybe there are parts of it that you might want to let go of now. So to what extent is this story still serving me now? So what you've just described and articulated is the beginning of unpacking your belief system, the subconscious parts of your mind that drive the behaviors and the conscious awareness that you can see on the surface. So there will be limiting beliefs of some sort in what you have just written. And what's important to know is that they're not facts. They are protective responses to fear and shame. Okay, it's the subconscious trying to keep us safe. They have performed their function. They have done great things for us to date, but perhaps they are limiting us now. And when we surface them, when we understand them, we can see them for what they are, and then we can make a choice about how we want to reframe them, or challenge them completely and get rid of them. So, for example, I love this example, though it's a very, very hard one that came up in the coaching room this week, which is a gentleman who has had a very long career, who was in the process of making a transition to something that he felt was quite risky. And he got to the bottom of his iceberg and he found, if I fail, my loved ones will be ashamed of me. That was the belief that he was holding on to, that was in his subconscious, that was holding him back from making the move that he wanted to make. And so when he reframed it to something more positive, empowering, realistic, and true, he said, if I fail, I will be modeling courage to my family, and they will still love me. So we're not saying the alternative to the negative belief is, oh, I've got this all sorted, it's fine, I'm going to do it, nothing will go wrong, because something might go wrong. What we're saying is the alternative is a more realistic, positive, empowering alternative. So for yourselves, based on what you've just come up with, What belief would best support where you are in your journey right now? It might have something to do with your capabilities. It might have something to do with what you could do if something goes wrong. It's positive, it's empowering, and it's realistic. And it helps to start to reframe some of these stories that you've got going on in your subconscious. So have a think about that for a minute. What belief would best support you right now? Got some examples here that might be useful. It's okay not to know yet. I'm working things through. I'm learning, not failing. I can handle uncertainty. It's uncomfortable, but it's part of the change process and it's okay. It's normal that I feel this way. So there is self-compassion, there's acceptance, there's all sorts in a more positive, empowering belief. And so finally, to kind of close the circle on this bit of input for you, now that you have your new belief, or this belief that you want to start to practice, because it is a practice, it doesn't happen overnight. You don't suddenly decide that you're going to believe this to be true and then suddenly all the old stuff is gone. It will still be there. But over time, if we are dedicated enough to practicing, we will start to change the fundamental belief system. So we will actually be rewiring our brain from a neurological, neuroscientific point of view. So now that you have that, this was appropriate for 11 o'clock this morning, but let's change it. Okay, so what is your deepest intention for this evening? So you're going to go and do something after this. What is your deepest intention? So it's the difference between I'm going to go and pick up my kids, go home and make dinner, versus I'm going to connect with my family. An intention slightly different to a goal or an outcome or a KPI. It's more about how you want to be than what you're going to do. What is your deepest intention for this evening? Maybe it has something to do with today, maybe it doesn't. And then if that was fairly easy, if it wasn't, stay with that. If that was fairly easy, think about the next month. What is your deepest intention for the next month? To the extent possible, try and avoid KPIs, rigid, measurable outcomes. Try and stick with an intention. This month, I'm going to be open to new conversations. This month, I'm going to be brave. If that was relatively easy, take the next step. Think about the year ahead. My intention for this year is to if you've still got a little bit of energy, think about the next 5 years. It gets harder and harder the more you get into the future. So this is the process of mindsight and the process of stepping out of autopilot, noticing what's actually happening for us, what's going on in our inner world, in our subconscious that we're not aware of, that is in the driving seat of our decisions, of what we do, of how we show up, of the thoughts and the feelings that we hold on to in our mind, the 3 a.m. scaries and so on. To noticing that, to stepping away from that, being curious and being able to then proactively choose our intention, proactively choose where we place our attention, what we hold on to, what we let go of. This is the practice. So the first practice that we did at the beginning, what's it like being me? Pause. Okay, what's going on? That's one practice without the need to do anything with it. It's just a noticing practice that helps to recenter. The stop practice is a little more proactive. So it takes you from stopping, pausing, take a breath, and that can be a physical breath, but it can also be any kind of circuit breaker that works for you. It might be going for a walk, it might be stroking the dog, it might be having a cup of tea, whatever works for you. Observe with curiosity. So this is where we get curious about our inner world. What is actually going on here? Are these thoughts for real? Can I question them? Can I challenge them? What is the belief that I'm operating from? And do I still want to operate from there? Notice it without judging it, because there's another layer we can add on here. Oh, here I go again, doing that same old thing. Try and avoid the self-judgment layer on top. And do that piece of exploration. And P, proceed. Proceed with your attention on your intention, your deepest intention, what is most important to you right now and how you want to be. So you can do this as a meditative practice, as a mindfulness practice, or you can do it cognitively, like we've just done here. But for me, I like it because it's memorable. The acronym works for me, and I can remember it quite easily. Okay, so that's it for what I wanted to share with you and take you through today. We've got 15 minutes for a bit of a conversation. Yeah. What resonated? What landed? What questions do you have? Does anybody want to jump in?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It always puzzles me, and you seem very, very well qualified to answer. If you're not your thoughts on your feelings, what are they? Sorry, I know it's a big one.
Yeah. So I don't know who you are.
Right, but
you do.
What is one? If one is not this, it's one. It's distracting from the practice if I want to get to that answer.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, thoughts are just the way in which we interpret the world that is out there, right? So we can choose what thoughts we want to believe and what thoughts we don't want to believe, but quite often we don't even give ourselves the option of choosing. We just go straight to the thought, and the thought is true, and therefore that is who we are. But who you are is, I mean, that would be an exploration, a conversation for you to do for yourself, that it will be unique to each one of us who we are. But we have to unpack what we're not, what we think we are that we're not, and what we think we are that we are, actually. Maybe we are a kind person, and that's true. But I think that I can't answer the question in terms of what it is that you are, if you are not, your thoughts and your feelings, etc., because you are unique. So it will be what comes up for you that feels true and aligned, your values, what's important to you. Yeah.
Okay. That's deep.
It is. It is deep. It is deep. Because we add on so many layers over the course of our lives to the experiences that we have. And it's not all true. It's just a lot of it is paradigm. It's how we see the world. Sorry, I'll give you the answer.
No, I think I'm just not going to think about it too much.
It'll come to you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe give my opinion on that.
Yeah.
Because I just thought maybe that your thoughts come and go.
Yeah.
And they just come and go. And then your identity probably isn't the thought. It's how the way you notice the thought and the way you handle it, the way you hold yourself to it, and that is your values. And that's how I would think it would.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And it's such a great question. I'm musing about it too. And I wonder if some of it is we are all our thoughts. But the question could be, what's serving? Is this thought serving me? Is this thought serving me? Helping me? And if not, why am I bother letting it dictate my actions and behaviors? Someone can't be.
Mhm.
Someone felt it, missed it.
So much wisdom in the room. That's why I don't like. Yeah.
I think it's difficult to like dictate what your thoughts are going to be. I think it's situational. Something happens, something bad happens, you get hurt by it, you regret it, you want to do something different, you have your challenges with it. And my answer to that is just take a holiday. And that's what I'm just doing. So don't get me wrong, I don't know anyone else's situation today. I've had some bad news today, but it is what it is. I can't do anything about it now, in terms of business and what we've created. But I've booked a holiday. I'm going to take a break and think about it when I get back. Yeah, literally. And what it is, it's like, I think we get so stuck in the negative thoughts of what you could have done differently, and you kind of beat yourself up about it. And it's like, you've got to learn to like actually let go, and actually from some of the bits earlier, where if it's not in your control, don't stress about it. And that's easier said than done.
Okay.
So,
which is why, from a coaching perspective, my personal view is that I don't think you can change those thoughts unless you understand where they're coming from. So unless you can get to the root of what the meaning of that thing is to me and reframe that, then I think you can have sustainable change. But otherwise, I think it's really hard to just tell yourself that it's okay, don't worry about it, it's out of your control, nothing you can do about it. And then it's still going over and over again. And the reason it is because there is a meaning attached to it that your body and your mind is not ready to let go of yet. So I hear you, absolutely. Perspective, take a breath, step away, give yourself space to see it in a different light. And if it's a pattern that keeps recurring, then perhaps have a look, dig a little deeper to see what's happening.
and also another one, it's like, I only recently read the book, it's recommended to me by a friend, but Who Moved My Cheese. I can't remember the author, but it's written by a psychologist, and it really helped me to actually just take a different perspective on how I'm looking at things.
Yeah.
So Who Moved My Cheese, just in case.
Who moved my cheese? Yeah.
It's a very, very short book. It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's really too.
Wow.
So just to add on from the discussion, is it sort of like you're weeding out you're giving the meaning of perhaps fear. So technically you're weeding out what's your ego and what's your fear. Is that what it is? Is that what we're doing here to kind of get deeper to actually what is it that's in here?
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand. It's like very like, yeah.
Yeah, but when we're in a place of uncertainty and not knowing, there is fear. There's discomfort and there is fear. And that will manifest in our behaviors, thoughts, and feelings that may or may not serve us. So if we want to change the thoughts and feelings and behaviors, we need to understand the belief that we're operating from that is getting in the way.
Gotcha.
So the fear might be, well, I'm not good enough for this change. I can't do this because I am not X person, or I haven't got X qualification, or I haven't got that person's experience, or whatever. So that's the story that then will lead us to maybe not applying for that job, or not taking the next step on that risk on that business or whatever. So what I'm saying is feel the fear and do it anyway, yes, but also understand where that fear comes from and how that fear actually has served in the past, because it will have kept us safe. So one thing that comes up a lot in leadership is perfectionism. All right, a lot of leaders have perfectionist traits and they strive for that perfection. Right, as long as I do it perfectly, I will be safe. I'll get that next promotion. I'll go up in the ranks. And that serves because that's how they got to where they get to. But when you get to the top of the ladder, things aren't perfect. So you have choice. You can either continue to drive yourself into the ground by continuing to operate the way you always have done, or you can learn to be okay with things not being perfect. But you can't learn to be with things that are not perfect until you've understood that actually for you, perfectionism is how you keep safe. It's how you protect yourself from failure, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah, I often find that when I'm journaling about stuff like this, I go through a thought process, and then I'm also like, I'm going back to it and I'm thinking, how much of this is subconscious too? Yeah. And then
Most of it is.
yeah.
Go back. Most of it is deep underneath the surface. We have no idea that it's actually happening. And it stays there for a really long time. I love the idea. You talk about journaling. Journaling is great if you can. It's a great way to start to express some of this stuff so that you can then choose what you hold on to and choose what you let go of. Because some of it might be getting in the way of you doing the next thing that's right for you.
Sometimes I hear, for example, I don't want to network in case it makes me look needy, for example. And then when you explore some of the beliefs under that, asking people for help equals being needy.
Yeah.
Then what happens if you're like, well, actually, that's really true? How do you manage those kind of beliefs that actually empirically and objectively are true?
So you think that it's true that asking for help is needed?
That's probably a bit of a poor example, but if I'm public speaking and I mess up, would it be help my career, for example?
Okay. So how would you reframe networking in a way that serves you better?
Networking means I'm curious and friendly.
And how would you practice that new belief?
Just networking once a week or setting some kind of target to do it.
And how would you show up networking?
With trying to use the new belief, not the old one.
And what would be doing?
Maybe physically, somatically, standing confidently as opposed to target projecting.
Yeah. That's exactly the process. So environments like this sometimes give me the heebie-jeebies, always give me the heebie-jeebies. And so I have a choice. I can either come in here and go, oh, what are they going to think? Are they going to like it? What if they don't like it? What if people think it's ridiculous and rubbish? And what's the point in all of this anyway? Just get on with it. If I came in with that attitude, that would influence how I deliver, how I present, how I receive what you have to share. If I come in thinking, I've got a few things to share, maybe they'll be useful to a few people. The organisers seem to think there was value in what I've got to say, so maybe there is. And let me just show up and share and invite and open a conversation and see what happens. Some people might like it, some people might not. It completely changes how I come into the room, how I engage with people, how I listen to you. I'm not listening to try and solve the problem that you're actually earlier I was when you had that question. It's like, oh shit, I don't know. I don't know the answer. Thanks. And I noticed that and had to try and in the moment reframe. Oh, it's okay. No, I don't know the answer because you're a unique person. So, but doing that in the moment is really, really hard, right? And that's what takes the practice. And we talked about it a little bit this morning with the evolution of going from being unaware to being aware, but after the fact, going, oh yeah, I did it again. That was my gremlin, my imposter syndrome, or my inner critic, or my perfectionist monster, or whatever you want to call it. And we notice it after the fact. And then eventually we're able to notice it in the moment, but still not change the behavior. And then eventually we get to the place where we notice it in the moment and we can change the behavior. But it is not overnight, and there are no silver bullets, unfortunately.
So you never get rid of the heebie-jeebies?
No.
So you just get into a place where you can control it and understand it?
Yeah, or I just allow it. Like, oh, I'm
just
feeling
saying one,
nervous.
because I mean, it's quite specific about it never really goes.
I don't think it does. I'm yet to meet
There's
anybody.
no cure for it. It's just a way of managing. Okay.
It's a way of
Or
being with it,
Yeah.
I think, rather than managing it. For me, managing it means that I must control it. But actually, for me, it's more like, okay, it's here. And guess what? It's here because I care. Because I want to do a good job. I want you to get something out of it. want to appear professional. It's important to me. So of course I'm going to get the heebie-jeebies. And if I didn't, then there would be something up. So it's more the accepting and being with in order to be able to then choose how you respond rather than trying to necessarily control it.
Is there not also, the name of it, which is very helpful, a documented pattern that if you pause for at least 6 seconds, you get some control of what's going on, and then get yourself to the place that
Yes.
you must find a way of allowing that pause.
Yes. So you're quite right. There's research in the health sector, and they actually taught doctors and nurses during the pandemic one long out breath. That's it. Before an interaction, before an operation, before going into a patient's room, just the longest possible out breath to down-regulate the nervous system. So physiologically, what happens is you're engaging your parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is the arousal one, is the one that goes, hey, danger, wake up, fight, flight, freeze, do that thing that keeps you safe physically and mentally. And the out breath, breathing, walking, movement, whatever it is for you, that brings on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, relax, where you get into the effectiveness zone that we looked at earlier. You're absolutely right. It doesn't take much. It takes one long, deep.
Yeah, it's the original thing is simple, the amygdala hijack.
Exactly.
Where you,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. Which is what the sympathetic response to.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I ask, these feelings that come up, I suppose there's a loop, isn't there, really? So when we're in particular circumstances, we feel these situations, these feelings come back up. But are they always bad is the question, right?
Mm.
Are they always bad? Sometimes more so over the last year or two, I've kind of, since I've kind of embraced a couple of risky things, and I hear those doubt things, I say, hello, old friend.
Yeah.
Good to see you, but you can't stay, sort of thing. That's my kind of weird approach to it, because I've noticed that there's this kind of loop. Anytime you kind of try and do something just a little bit, it comes back, and then you're like, it's like I said to you earlier on, there's that fight or flight thing that happens, right? And so.
Well, we've been built that way to keep ourselves safe. It's evolutionary, right? This response is 100 million years old. And the difference is that now we're not running from predators in the wild, we're running from the fear of failure. That's it. That's the only difference. The physiological response, the mind is doing the same thing it did when we were cave people. And so, of course, some of it is useful. And that's why we hold on to those stories, because they have served us, right? So we were talking about little girls and boys, I'm sure, who learn that being good is how they get love, right? As long as I'm good and I do well at school and I get good grades, I get my mom and dad's attention and I am safe. That then becomes the adult later on who is always saying yes, taking on everybody else's responsibilities, showing up, yeah, right. So it serves, these things do serve, and that's why we continue and repeat the patterns, but they have a shadow. So we're not saying that any of this is bad. All of this is just data. What we're saying is notice it and then choose. What do you want to hold on to? What's useful and what's not? But it's only through mindsight that we can actually go through that process of saying, hey, old friend, seen you before. Not today, thank you. Or, yeah, okay, maybe you have a point. Maybe that's too risky right now, and maybe I'll do that later, or maybe I won't. It's about choice. And I think that's what, when we're going through this kind of shift, and then I'll stop talking because it is 4:45, and I think you all it is that the skill or the ability to get ourselves into a place where we can choose. And in this time of uncertainty and change and challenge, there's a lot of hypervigilance, there's a lot of high alert. And if we can just get ourselves into a place where we're regulated, we're in the effectiveness zone, we have more choice, we open up more opportunities, we feel more capable. We don't feel perfect that we can get it all right, but we feel that we can stand in our on solid ground and in our values and what's important to us. Thank you, everyone.